right, motion, tailback slant. Let's put the women and children to bed and go looking for dinner, all right? On one, ready? Go, 13! Coming up, go, 13!
Oh my goodness. I know this is first world problems, but literally I'm just walking in from coach's school and here you are already ready. You'd already messed up the bathroom, drinks all over the studio. But
it's nothing different than any other night. You
That
just
is
rolled
true.
in straight from coaching school to the studio. Didn't even go home, came right to the studio.
Yep.
And then boom.
Because that's what we do here at Sideline to Sideline.
Well,
we
you do.
Boom.
I was on the couch until
you
4,
were,
and I was like, I guess I better head over to do the show.
And then you realize you crashed here the whole time I was gone and didn't
Right.
tell us. I
Right.
was wondering why Darla the cat was walking funny. Makes sense now.
Why don't we
Anyway,
have a cat here,
that's
by the way?
Grant Goodwin. I'm Terry Bennett. This is Sideline to Sideline. It's the second off-season show. That means we're going to be talking toughest regions, 4A through 2A. Now, to, as I always like to say, peel back the curtain. I realized this. So we go to coaches. I went to the coaches school Saturday, and we'll talk a little bit more about that probably at during the Big R's previews.
Thanks for the invite, by the way.
You were invited, and I thought you were going to come, and then I never heard from you again.
I was invited.
But by the way, real quick, I do want to say this, and I don't have her name right in front of me, but thoughts and prayers to the junior Jasper volleyball coach who was just at the Sky Bar having drinks and celebrating being at coach's school. And late last night, a random bullet fired, they think, just from a car that probably wasn't even meant for anybody. Just, I heard one of the reports, I think it was probably like a 16-year-old who found a gun or something like that. And she was struck and she passed away. And it was scary because the Sky Bar was literally right across from where we were. And me and my fiance had looked down last night about 11 p.m. and we were like, or about 10 p.m. And we were like, man, that's kind of fun. And it was open to anybody from coach's school. And we thought about going, and we were just like, we walked a lot. We went to bed, but tragically she lost her life, and we're going to figure out something we can do to honor her.
Right?
Like 29, I think. And I'm sorry I don't have her name. I'm not going to try to scramble in front. But we're going to figure out something to do with Jasper High School to honor her, because it's just tough. But anyway, so what we're going to be doing on this episode, though, is we're going to be doing the toughest regions. We're also doing the toughest districts tonight, but they won't come out on the same day. And then Saturday, this is the earliest we've ever done this, we have to do our Big R's preview shows because you have to go to Corpus before I do, and I have to do this stupid wedding thing in Corpus, so neither one of us could get out of that. I'm excited, but it's kind of tough doing all these all-season shows in like a 9-day period.
It is, but I tell you what, it gets you caught up a little
and
bit,
it gets
right?
me excited. Like I'm always excited for football, and coach's school always kind of kicks it off. But driving back today and kind of taking notes for the region stuff, I really started getting that feel like, man, I'm ready now. I'm ready for football.
Right. And like after doing the research for the toughest regions, toughest districts, I started actually getting a feel for who the heavy hitters are going to be, right?
Yeah.
And what games we need to go see. I've already got all that filled out for the first 3 weeks.
Well, and that's always, yeah.
3 weeks ago, I had no idea,
Exactly.
I didn't know what games we need to go see. Now I've kind of got it planned out for 3 weeks. So these games are good, or these shows are good for us just to know what games to go see in the first 3 or 4 weeks.
Well, and honestly, that's when we started these shows. We started them. Man, I'm having some issues with my ear. Sorry, I'm using a different thing. Anyway, we started these shows because there was a time when just how life was. We basically said, "All right, see you after state championship," and it would be about this time before we started shows.
Yeah.
And so we were like, "Well, let's do these off-season shows so we can kind of get back into the groove of the broadcasting." And then I think we both realized, because we started that like 2007. That was the Burgerland and the fries, one of the greatest. Yeah, that was the infamous. If you don't remember our open, where the only time you've ever got mad about production for some reason, you wanted certain song, and I was like, man, that doesn't sound that good. And you were like, I'm my music, and I played that because you also said the famous, I'm not drunk, you're drunk. But anyway, so we realized from that point on, though, like, man, this really does help us as broadcasters because for all the fun we have, we want to be informative. We don't care if we're right. I mean, it's fun to be right, but we don't care. That's not a big thing. But we want, at least when you listen to the show, to feel like the teams that we're talking about a little bit better going into the season. And that's why, I like the Dark Horse show and I love the Big R's preview shows. But these two shows that we're recording tonight, Toughest Region and Toughest District, I feel like this is the beginning of getting into the meat of these classes this year.
Right. And we like to be interactive as well, right? If you agree with something, don't agree with something,
let us know.
Something to interject, why don't you email us, right?
Yep. Grant and Terry at s2ssport.com. You can find us on Facebook, Sideline to Sideline. Of course, we have a lot of our interactions there. And we would love for people to start interacting on YouTube. And we understand we have a different audience for this show. And so y'all tend to respond on the message boards where we post the show or on our Facebook. But please start messaging us on or leaving comments on our YouTube channel. It's running right now on the screen, youtube.com at L4 Media or / at L4 Media Company, because we have ads and all because this we need money. I mean, that's just how it works. You do this part-time, I do this full-time, and we have to be able to sustain it. And part of what helps us if you interact over on YouTube, it helps our ad rate there work better because YouTube sees, oh, they're not only getting views, by the way, 4,000 views on our last show, almost 5,000 views on our last show that we just did 7 days ago. That's awesome. But if we could get 100 or 200 comments off of that, that would be awesome. And it would really help us be able to expand the channel, be able to do things like being in a new studio. We want to do things in this new studio. We want to get better cameras. We want to get better lighting. We bought into this YouTube. We went kicking and screaming for a few years and streaming. I now love YouTube. I think this is the best thing that we did as a show. They can see my beautiful face.
Oh,
by the way, ladies. Oh crap! My fiance listens and watches.
Keyword fiance. You're getting married.
Also, zip code. She's in a different zip code. Isn't that the rule?
I've never heard that. It's a rule.
Yeah. Anyway.
As long as she agrees with it, it's a rule.
Okay. So
how many hot chicks are going to meet off of the listeners of our show?
I wasn't even talking about the listeners. I know. I mean, we're gonna get Jerry from Canadian out of that little rinky dink. It was a nice hotel.
Chick. He could be a hot chick.
Put a little hair on him, a little long hair.
Okay. Cool.
Anyway, let's get into the show. So what we do, if you've never listened to the toughest regions, I mean, it's really simple. We rank the regions 1 through 4. We do every class, 4A down to 2A. And I do want to say this, and me and Matt Stepp were talking about this at Coach's School about 4A, and that's where we're going to start. But really, it goes down. This is a year where 4A Division I, for the first time in a while, feels like there are 6, 7, 10, 12 teams that could win it. And that's why last week in our dark horses, it was really hard to say, okay, who is a dark horse? Because you could make the case that the 10th place team is a state championship favorite. So are they really a dark horse? And when we started talking these regions, the same thing happened.
Well, I think that a team out of 4A Division I that is not in our top, like a tier 1 right now ranking, is going to come out of nowhere and make it to Arlington for the state championship. I really think what we have as a tier 2 or even maybe as a tier 3 right now will make it to Arlington. That's how just tightly packed 4A Division I is.
I don't think you're wrong at that. And by the way, if you're wondering if you're new, wondering what a tier is, We used to do a show where we, instead of did rankings, we basically did tiers. Tier 1 was a state championship favorite, at least a semifinalist. Tier 2 was if they get the right draw, if they stay healthy, they could be there. And then tier 3 was what now has become the dark horse. The teams that we feel have a chance, but things have got to break right for them.
Right.
But let's go ahead and get into it. Let's go 4A Division I football. Let's talk toughest regions. I think this
we'll go backwards, right? From fourth.
Yes, we'll go fourth. Yeah,
all the way.
Thank you for saying that, because I almost said it.
The toughest.
Yes. All right. So the fourth toughest. And by the way, again, that doesn't mean it's the weakest. We used to say that, and we started holding our tongue because sometimes you can't tell. Sometimes some of these, the difference between the top region and then the fourth region is one team.
Right.
And especially in a year like this, where some of the heavy hitters of Region 1 got switched into Region 2. I mean, you can't help that. But anyway, the fourth toughest region in 4A Division 1 is
Region 3. I think Region 3, top heavy with Kilgore and Chapel Hill, right? You got those two heavy hitters. Either one of those can be state champions. After that, I think you have Lindale and Pine Tree that could challenge for that top spot.
Watch out for Pine Tree, folks.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Moving back down, right? Or moving down.
Moving down for the first time in a long time.
Offensively, Pine Tree is, I mean, they're great. Just, what are they going to do defensively?
They remind me of when Lindale dropped down.
Yeah.
Which is funny because Lindale now, they're going to rely on a very veteran physical defense this year. But when they dropped down and when they made that run.
Because they had lights out quarterbacks
and lights out running backs. Clint Cochran at running back, and then what's his name that basically I didn't even think was possible in this era. Took a 4A Division I team, put him on his back, and dragged them to a state championship appearance. And that was awesome. But you're right, it's top heavy because you still have, and it's fair or unfair, you still have District 11, the all Houston district. It's going to be fun to watch because they're going to hit district really early. But to be honest with you, I don't see any team out of this one winning a playoff game.
Well, and District 11, but then District 12.
That's the interesting one.
Kind of, Stratford or Stafford. I'm sorry, not Stratford. Stafford, Needville, and Navasota. Those are unknowns right now, right? They don't come back with coming off a year from last year. Stafford and Needville both had really good years last year. They don't have a ton coming back, right?
Yeah,
so,
no, I agree.
It's District 11 and District 12 that kind of hurts them a little bit. District 10's pretty salty, but all your strength is in District 9.
I do want to say one thing, and again, I'm not trying to say that they're going to be, world beaters and heavy hitters, but I do see if Fort Bend Willow Ridge, which we grew up as Sugarland, if they understand, like, holy crap, we've not only dropped a class, but we've dropped a class into a district that we can compete, because Willowbridge has had some talent lately. They've just been in, I mean, we all talk about Duncanville and Galena Park North Shore, but man, Houston, to survive that region now in 5A and 6A is a dogfight. And Willow Ridge has a lot coming back, and they could be, I almost put them as a dark horse last year, but you and I have this rule, when it's bigger cities dropping down, we want to see what they do first. But yeah, this is all about District 9. District 10, it's a lot of names, but it feels like every team in this has something going on. Lumberton lost their quarterback and their head coach. James Ray's now at Palatine. Vider, they kind of got caught in that where they still run the slot T.
I still think Vider's going to be pretty good.
Oh, yeah, I think they're going to be solid, but they run the slot T. But the problem is they've either had injuries or athleticism issues. And so instead of getting the 8 and 9, they're getting the 3 and 4 in the slot T. And that's tough in this region. Yeah. But I agree with you. What hurts this region is the depth, and that's what makes these region the best region great. It's always going to be the depth.
Yeah. All right. The third toughest district in 4A Division 1, we've got as Region 1. Actually, you got one heavy hitter in Stephenville, an almost heavy hitter in Brownwood.
Yeah.
If Brownwood wouldn't have lost that quarterback,
I still think they're going to end up being better as a whole.
Yeah, I think they could be, but are they going to really be able to challenge Stephenville? They might, but I just don't see it.
You know what the best thing about that is, though?
What?
It's not only one of the best rivalries, it's back to being a district game.
Yes, that's right.
I love that.
That's right.
We might have to do something we don't normally do and end up at the same game in back-to-back years.
Could, yeah. Could. that be Brownwood at Stephenville
Yeah,
this
be
year,
at Stephenville. Wait,
which
well, no, it's a district matchup. So that is, did they, have you, that
I
could have,
think it's at Stephenville.
is it? Because
this
that could have
year.
easily went back to Brownwood because last year was a non-district matchup. Hey, I'm interested in District 2 because you got West Plains that have moved up, and we know what they had last year. You know, of course, it's easily to say a record-breaking year because they're a new school. The issue is they lose a lot of that talent, but them and Randall and Canyon have all created this nice little rivalry that for the first time, all three are in the same district.
Right.
And then I know this is funny. Go ahead.
Any of the three can win it.
Yeah, any of the three can win it. Any of the three can end up playing, at least in the semifinals.
Right.
But the funniest thing is, and if you've listened for a couple years, you know that Grant and I 2 years ago did the Hereford show, and they were terrible. And then all of a sudden last year, they, I would say, shocked the 4A world because they not only made the playoffs, but they were competitive, and they returned a huge chunk of that. So District 2 is going to be fun. But again, just like Region 3, what hurts them is, and again, it's going to be a fun district to watch, but everybody's calling the El Paso district.
Yeah. All right. The second toughest
we
district
go.
in the state in Class 4A Division 1 is Region 4.
Yep.
And that is because you got three pretty darn good teams in LBJ, Bay City, and Davenport, right?
Yep.
Those three right there carry this region.
I still think El Campo's right up there with them too.
Well, if El Campo is, then Lavernia and Calhoun should be, right?
Oh yeah, that's why when we do our toughest district show, don't be surprised if District 15 is pretty high up.
Yeah.
But Travis Reed at Cuero, he took a solid team and a team that hadn't been in a run-based system for long, but still, these are kids. You teach them 2 years, how you're basically doing. I don't even know what you'd really call what Chad Worrell does. It's not really a wing tee. It's not really a slot tee. It's just the old school. I just call it the Salina offense.
Sometimes it's the eye.
It's the eye.
Yeah.
They do a lot of the same
Power
things.
eye.
The power eye, the staggered eye, the tight ends in motion and
Offset
stuff.
eye.
Offset eye.
Yeah.
But you still have to teach these
Sometimes
kids.
you'll have split backfield,
Oh yeah.
but all the blocking angles
Are always the same. Your gaps are
Right.
always the same. And that's what
Right.
makes them so good is it looks different until the moment it hits. And then, but anyway, so Travis Reed comes in last year. I don't want to say underperformed, but I think a lot of people thought that they would take off more, but they're back this year 2 under him. I kind of did this thing and I'll end up playing audio eventually where I would go up to a coaching staff because if the one thing about coaching tool, I mean this in a fun way, it's like West Side Story. They all walk in gangs. Like there's the Brock group, there's the OK, and all that. But so I would walk up to these coaching staffs and just who are you afraid of? In your region, who are you afraid of? Who are you afraid of for state? And respect in a way. And more people are like, El Campo. They're going to figure it out. Travis Reeves doesn't lose. We've seen that at Cuero and all that. But again, what hurts this whole district or this whole region? Just like 11 or just like 3 and 1, they have one district that has a bunch of, I don't want to call them ISD styles, but they are, and they're also, the Austin Achieve, the charter schools, but LBJ is in there.
Yeah.
And folks.
And don't forget Davenport.
But let's remember where LBJ was the last time they were in 4A. And by the way, thank you for all the ISDs that finally stopped opting up because you allow an LBJ to fall down back into 4A where they just belong depth-wise.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, and then you look at District 14, dude, and it's not it's not sexy names, but all these teams are solid. Like every one of these teams
in there, right?
No, 14. Canyon Lake,
14,
Davenport. Davenport's the known, but but look at Uvalde 2 years in a row in the playoffs. Somerset, what will the Bulldogs do? And then you say 16, man, Cal Allen, they're going to make the region because if they're still taking steps back, then I think Region 4 is in the right place.
Yeah.
If they bounce back in their Cal Allen of 3 years ago, well, then you could say, hey, Region 4 might have been the best region. But in saying all that, by a process of elimination, the best region in 4A Division 1 is?
Region 2. Yep. And that is Salina and Frisco Panther Creek taking the two heavy hitters, right?
Yeah,
But then you got your Decaters in there. You got your Springtowns, your Alvarados. Alvarado, I think, is going to be darn good. I really think that we're going to come back in week 6 or 7 of the season and say Alvarado was really underrated. That's going to be one of those teams. Aubrey, I don't know. Kimball Carter, not real sure. Like Dallas,
Dude, that's another. That was another buzz
right
team.
now. District 7 is loaded, and that's what carries this region right here, and what makes them the number one or the toughest region in all of Class 4A Division 1 is that District 7. Man, when you got Salina, Panther Creek, and Lake Dallas battling it out, that's going to be tough.
And then you've got,
I feel sorry for Community Paris. Sulphur Springs.
Okay,
might be a little bit better.
I feel sorry for Community. I don't know about Paris. Again, that's another one people are saying that, they kind of changed things up last year, and scheme wise, and they struggled. And I heard
they got to find some dudes to compete with those top three, though.
Well, they got to find some dudes that aren't just the fastest, but also don't turn over the ball, don't make the mental mistakes,
Right,
and that's what's caught Paris. But in Sulphur Springs,
football's not all about speed anymore.
Yeah, until it is
execution.
Yes, until it is, and what I mean by that is when you play the teams that have the speed. And they also have the execution.
Well, yeah, that's the two don't go hand in hand.
Yeah, exactly. And then I'll be honest, I know we say this all year. You can never trust, a DIS team until they prove us wrong. But Carter, Kimball, Conrad, I wouldn't want to play them in the first round of the playoffs. And Carter really does feel like they're getting close. Like, man, 2 years ago,
last year, a lot closer last year. I mean,
yes, I'm saying, and they've done that progression steps that we always talk about.
Closing that gap.
Closing that gap. But anyway, that is the toughest regions in 4A Division 1. Region 2 is number 1. Region 4 is number 2. Region 1 is number 3. And Region 3 is number 4. Now, for Region 3, we got better news than 4A Division 2, but we'll get to that in a minute. Grant, what is the least strongest region of 4A Division 2 this year?
I think it's Region 4. I think you got Wimberley in there as the heavy hitter, right? The clear favorite. I think you'd be crazy not to think that the Texans weren't the clear favorite to win Region 4. Then you got Sinton, Cuero, and Lago Vista.
Yeah.
Those are the three. Are they going to push Wimberley? I don't know. Right now, I see Wimberley as the top dog, and then Sinton, Cuero, and Lago Vista really have to, I don't know, really round into form.
Good day type of thing, and Bandera, they help with the depth of this. But you're right. The biggest issue is when you look at this, it still feels like Wimberley and everybody else. And that's even with Cuero and Sinton in there. And, we talked about it last week, and I didn't mean as a knock, by the way. We'll have a Sinton show this year. I didn't mean this as a knock, but Sinton the last couple of years, they're 8-4 and 10-3. That's really good. But when you look at the losses and then you look at the wins, you just go, oh, well, they kind of like did Dallas last year. They lost all the games that were competitively equal or better than them.
Right.
And that's the kind of things that'll hurt you when we go just the rankings. But yeah, there's just not enough depth at the bottom of Region 4.
Yeah. All right. Our third toughest region in 4A Division 2, I think it's Region 2.
We're going to call there's going to be a little bit of what
is, but I mean, look, you got Gilmer and Carthage by far are the two heavy hitters. After that, look, Pleasant Grove has 3 or 4 returning starters.
Lance Jackson's an absolute stud.
Oh, he is. But
you can only
this is a team sport. There's 11 positions. He's going to play 1 on offense, 1 on defense, and he can make life hell on the defense side of the ball, and he can eat up some yards at tight end on the offense side of the ball. But that's just not enough. I really don't think to compete with Gilmer and Carthage. That being said, Pleasant Grove always has dudes to the last 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, they're fine as a program.
Reload, right? And maybe they will push them. I don't know. And then after that, you got Sunnyvale, right?
And we have no clue because they lose. John Settle retires.
Right. But
what's his name?
Started a lot of sophomores last year.
Yeah, but Adrian Peterson's son. He's no longer there, the quarterback, and I think. And I'm not in any way we're not knocking coaches' decisions, but I think there was a lot of confusion last year why Sunnyvale felt the need to rotate in. And it felt like, I feel like if they'd have handled things different, that kid might have stayed, and he's going to be special. And he definitely would be special at the 4A division.
Chemistry.
Well, no, but I'm saying from everybody that I've talked to, when he was in, the offense was gold, and when he wasn't, the offense struggled. And that we get one or two, voices, they could very easily have an agenda. But the point is, but you're right, they still have a lot of players left. And it does still feel like they took Gilmer to the mat last year and lost. And they've lost to Gilmer 3 times in the playoffs. But this last time, the time that Gilmer wins state, it just feels like Sunnyvale might finally break through this year through that glass of that second and third round.
Yeah, they could. All right. The second toughest region in 4A Division 2, I've got as Region 1. And I think you got your big heavy hitter in Glen Rose, and then Brock and Graham are also heavy hitters, I think.
Fort Stockton's got a lot of people coming back and a really good run or wide receiver.
Yeah, really, really good.
Monahan's, of course, is proven 2 years in a row that they're back and they're back for real.
Seminole might have the best quarterback in 4A Division 2, right? And so, they could make a case. Region 1 could make a case for being the toughest region in the state.
I totally agree with that. And then again, the trust issue, but dude, Dunbar returns a lot. And Dunbar played last year against a couple 5A teams and hung in. But again, you and I also did a Dunbar game against Everman where a kid that ended up at UT, if he simply makes 2 wide open catches, would have been the upset of the decade. And they ended up losing by 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
That's why you don't trust those teams. But yeah, I agree. I think maybe you don't have the top of the top of the top.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think Region 1 here has the top.
I was about to say
with Glen Rose, Brock, and Graham, because I think all 3 of those are very capable of winning a state title.
And let's remember, Mineral Wells returns 10 defensive guys and one of the most dynamic players in Preston Harrison. He's like 6'8". He's already committed. I think he was committed to Tech, but they've just got to figure out how to get him the ball. That's tough in today's world where you can scheme better. Yeah. That's really tough. But I mean, I'm saying this: if you're, if you're, Midland Greenwood in the first round, I don't know if or second round, I don't know if I'd want to play a Mineral Wells if they're hot and stuff. Right. So that's why Region 1 is so good, though. You've got 3 or 4 at the top, but you've also got 3 or 4 in the middle that could cause havoc if things break right.
Yep. All right. So process of elimination. 4A Division 2's toughest region is Region 3. And I think you got Belleville, you got Lago Vista. And then after that, though, you've got a lot of teams like Sealy, Madisonville, Lorena, China Spring, Jasper, West Orange Stark, Silsby, Hampshire Finette. All those teams are going to be very, very tough. And one of those 8 teams right there that I just named off that are just kind of on the bottom mid tier of this region one of those 8 could, maybe even 2 of those 8, step up and just shock the favorites in Belleville and La Vega.
I don't know if we've seen 2 districts back to back in 4A. We saw this in 3A, and funny enough, Lorena was part of that. But you had, last year, the last cycle, you had those 2 3A districts backing up of Hitchcock and Columbus, and then Franklin and them. Same thing with this one. If you're Belleville and you win your district and you're rocking and rolling, if things go weird in District 12, you're playing Waco La Vega in round 1.
Right.
You're playing China Spring. And by the way, what happened last time China Spring was in 4A Division 2? They won a state championship.
Yeah.
And so I have a funny feeling. I was just telling the fiance today because we were on I-35 and we were passing Salado, and I said, me and Grant are going to be coming by this a lot this year because District 11 and 12 in 4A Division 2 and then other classes the same region are going to be absolutely awesome. But anyway, is there any knock on this region? I really don't see one because I feel like every district.
I think it's just totally heavy.
And again, we talked about this before.
From top to bottom.
Yes. We used to do tiers and so we would put them in the districts. And when you look at this, every team or every district at least has a tier 2, possible tier 1. And again, I'm going to go back to talking to coaches. They're really interested in Harmony and Harmony School of Innovation because
Harmony School of Innovation.
Yeah, it's weird names. I know. I had I think it was Chad Worrell 2 years ago at El Campo played him, if I remember correctly, and doing that coach's show. And every time going, well, that was a tough game against Harmony School of Innovation. But the thing is they pull, because they're considered magnets, they pull from a very big population. Yeah. And if that ever were to come together, but
when's the last time we've seen that?
There was a movie. I remember the Titans. All right, that's 4A Division 1 and Division 2. Let's move on to 3A
Maybe we should
Division
take
1.
a quick break.
You didn't scratch. So that's a
No, I did.
no,
I
I'm
scratched
just
like 3
kidding, dude.
times.
I was trying to
He
get
told me to scratch. If I got to go to the bathroom, to
None of this will
scratch.
make it. I'm gonna edit this part out.
Okay.
All right, I'll run a commercial now.
Okay.
All right, hang on. 3, 2. All right, that's 4A and 4A Division 1 and Division 2. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk toughest regions 3A, D1, and D2 right here on Sideline to Sideline.
Off camera.
Well, I mean, you're going to be edited out.
Okay.
Hey, let's talk a little 3A toughest region. All right, Tim and Grant Goodwin back here, Sideline to Sideline, right here on L4 Media. Find us on YouTube at youtube.com/L4 Media. But now I want to also remind you to check out our title sponsor. Now, it's the same title sponsor that it has been, but they changed their name. We used to call them Power Plus Mouthguard. We now call them, well, I still have that one up. So we'll just run that one out. We have Neurogen Plus. If you go to Power Plus Mouthguard, you can still see it goes to the right one. Use our promo code S2S24 for the best mouthguard in not only football, but any sports. And as I was
Lacrosse.
yes, lacrosse. There, good job. I know you didn't mean to be good on that, but
No,
congratulations.
actually, I did because I saw the ad and it had a lacrosse player.
I still think at the end of the day that
They get a lot of concussions and stuff in lacrosse.
yeah, actually they do.
They?
So about 10 years ago, they did a study, and the soccer was the most concussive sport.
Yeah, which is weird, but I guess a ball flying.
Yeah,
at your
hitting the
face,
ball. Yeah,
it's like a Saturday night for you. But
you're waiting on
how many
that one.
balls do you have flying at your face on a Saturday night?
There's the one I was looking for. I hate you so much sometimes.
Why?
If you anyway,
I don't know.
I already know.
Saying,
I already know this
lifestyle.
is
being cool. Embrace it.
I already know this is going to be.
Embrace the lifestyle.
All that I just processed what you said. Again, I know this is, for all the great talk we talk about football here in the state of Texas on this show, this is the thing that gets put up on Reels, and this is the things that get all the views. And then when people actually go listen, they're like, oh, I thought you had to be funnier. It's like, well, damn it. Anyway,
balls at your face is pretty funny.
I mean, I don't disagree.
I thought we were having fun. No,
I mean, one of us was having fun with balls at the face. Anyway, let's go to the toughest region in Class 3A, where there's going to be a lot of balls to the faces. We're going to start 3A Division 1. And Grant, who do you have as the quote unquote not strongest of all the region teams?
Well, I'm not going to say the not strongest, but Region 4 is the fourth toughest district in Class 3A Division
Yeah.
One right now. I think you got Edna and Goliad. Edna being the big favorite here. Goliad being the monkey wrench kind of
Yeah.
team, right? That can compete with Edna, and who knows, win Region 4. After that, though, you got UC Randolph, Orange Grove, and Jordanton. Right?
And then you got a bunch of teams that have had a couple good years in the last few years, but they have no
I'd
consistency.
really like to see Falfurious.
Oh, I
come
know.
back
That's
up,
funny
man.
you say that because I got to talk to one of their junior high coaches this week.
Oh, did you?
I also got to talk to Orange Grove and Edna and Goliad.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of people still feel like Orange Grove is finally at that level where they can consistently be competitive. But
I
again,
think they're right. I think they can.
but we're talking Region 4. If you put them in a couple of other regions, they'd be okay. But I don't think they would. And that's
I don't know. Sometimes it doesn't matter.
yeah, no,
In
you're
this
exactly
case,
right.
I think it does. Right? I think.
Oh, and San Antonio Cole. I've heard a lot of people talk about last year. They had a dynamic quarterback. They won 9 games. But I talked to
with Cole, to me, I don't know, and I might be way off base here, but Cole seems like that team, like the Kimballs and the Madisons and some of the Houston teams that they track that way.
but not because they're a military school.
I know, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, you're right. That you can't trust them is what you're trying to say.
Right. When they're heralded,
They
and
struggle.
they've got all. Yeah,
But then when they're supposed to be a 3-win, they'll win a 6, and then that makes us all go, "Oh, here they are. They're about to be." Yeah, no, I totally 100% agree with you. But I think the biggest thing is talking to Jordanton and Poteet coaches and a couple others is they feel that they have a really dynamic quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest thing I kept hearing is he keeps them there. And that kind of goes with what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's military. Some of the, Bandera head coach Joe Fontenot-Amity used to be the offensive coordinator for Cole. And he said, hey, you'd have a kid that this is going to be your guy. He's ready to go. And then 2 weeks before the season, his dad gets different things and he's gone.
Yeah.
And I do think that that's a bigger issue than what people understand.
Oh, yeah.
But for the region, this whole region, going back to that, the biggest issue with it is, again, and this we're going to say this is broken record with the 3rd and 4th regions, not region 3, region 4, but 3rd and 4th in our rankings. They just don't have the depth.
Right.
And then in region 4, you can even make the case that outside of Edna, they don't even really have a top. It's just Edna. For me, it's still just Edna and everybody else.
And maybe Goliad.
And Goliad, because Goliad is the team that's kind of figured out Edna in district.
Well, for Goliad just plays so physical
all the time.
Yeah.
They can
even when they're not good.
Win 3
they
games.
Are physical.
Yep. They're the team.
You played Goliad.
That was about to say they're the team that coaches will say, even if we beat them by 30, our kids are sore that week than they are when they play a top 3 team or a top 4 team.
And as a coach, is that not what you're looking for?
Exactly.
Right. If we're not competitive, at least we're going to be tough.
They're I can say this, but they're like the Region 4 version of West. Now, West has kind of changed now because they're more spread, but even now, with West, you're going to face.
Just because you're spread doesn't mean you can't be physical.
Exactly. You're going to face some big old.
I mean, maybe your linemen are going backwards, but defensively, you can bring the wood.
Well, and today, so many. I think more teams run a pure power run game out of the spread than what we think of as the spread. Yeah. All right, but anyway, so that's the 4th region in our toughest region, Class 3 Division 1. What is our 3rd one, Mr. Goodwin?
All right, the 3rd toughest region in Class 3A Division 1 will be Region 1, and the reason being is you've got 3 not completely top end teams, but you've got 3 teams that I think could battle for a semifinal spot, right, or even to the finals.
I believe
one of these is going to be in the semifinals, obviously. But they might have a shot against a Malakoff or a Grandview or somebody like that, and that's Bushland, Paradise, and Sweetwater.
Yeah, and I'm not going to name the team until Saturday. Well, that's when we record. You'll hear this or see this in August. I'm not going to name the team till the Big R's playoff, but I have a team in a surprise upset playing for a state championship.
I already know who that team is.
I know you do, and we haven't talked about
it now.
But sure.
No, I'm not going to. I'm going to.
Well, no, say it. If I don't, we edit this. Say it because I'm curious, and if I don't want to hear people to hear it, I'll edit it.
It's either Sweetwater or Paradise.
It's Sweetwater.
Okay.
I think that quarterback and the athleticism.
All the sophomores from last year.
Yeah, and here's the thing. They could, if they can figure it out, they could start a little mini run here for Sweetwater, which could blossom into a bigger run because if Sweetwater stays down,
like a Chapel Hill did.
That's exactly where I was going. Just like Chapel Hill,
Really?
just like Henderson.
We're like cycle sisters.
We kind of are.
Well, I don't know what a cycle sister is.
Sure, you don't.
No,
no,
they're on their periods at the same time.
You don't have to explain it. Yes,
right?
I know that.
And if you're friends with somebody and they're on their period, then they get their period at the same time, and we call them cycle sisters.
It's been a long.
I'm sorry, you didn't go to med school.
So this has been a weird day for me outside of coach's school, and I don't want to get into it. Just house issues. This is the first time I've drank on sideline to sideline in probably 2 years.
Drinking?
Yeah. I'm not just pouring water slowly, and then I'm chasing water with Gatorade.
Oh, okay, good.
But anyway, yeah, I agree though. I don't know if I'm going to edit the team name. I might bleep it. That'll be fun. I'll just bleep it.
Oh yeah. Bleep me. That's great.
But the problem in this region is after that there's nobody. I mean, shallow water,
Jim Ned and shallow water. Nobody. Those aren't nobody.
But if you put them over into the other region, especially the top region, they wouldn't be playoff teams.
I don't know, man. Jim Ned and shallow water over the last 10 years would have been playoff teams in any district.
In this
right?
region, I think. In the region, I could see.
I know, but I still think you could put them over in Region 2.
Malakoff beat Shallow Water by 4 touchdowns and Jim Ned by 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, Malakoff. But Malakoff has everybody back.
But that's who they'll play in the region semifinal. I mean, the state semifinals.
But it's not fair to say that you can
I know.
Jim Ned and Shallow Water. Because those are 2 really good teams, and one of those might shock you this year. Right?
Inside the region, I 100% agree. I 100% agree.
A quarterback away last year from getting hurt in the 4th week of the season. That kid, if he stays healthy, God knows what they could have done.
I think Jim Ned would have ran that region.
Right?
Yep, that is right.
You can't write them off.
Okay.
Right?
Sorry.
God
Not bad.
Almighty. Why do I have to be the voice of reason?
When you're the voice of reason, we got issues.
Time.
All right, so what's the next toughest region?
All right, the second toughest region in Class 3A Division 1 is Region 2. And you've obviously got Malakoff there, right, standing as the clear favorite. I don't think there's been more of a clear favorite.
And they're in a region that has a lot of really good teams, but every other team outside of them has huge question marks at huge spots.
Yeah, I see, Dave Campbell's and a lot of people propping up Grandview. And look, they got 2 incredible athletes and then a lot of really good role players. And that's what Grandview's
But you think they're being a little too propped up, right?
I don't know. Yeah,
I feel like people are leaning on the Grandview.
Okay, you can
persona.
I think maybe we can say, maybe they're being propped up too much. But how do we know until 3 weeks into the season?
No, you're right. But it's so funny you say that because a few weeks
Grandview is always 3 really good athletes and really good role players. And I think that's what they got again this year, though.
No, I don't disagree. But it's just funny that you bring them up because I got a text from one of our guys that we trust when it comes to football. And he sent me a text screenshot of a coach saying, I don't understand the Grandview hype. They're literally, like you said, they're going to win 9-10 games, probably go 2 rounds in the playoffs. But outside of that, he would be very shocked if they could stay on the field with Malakoff. And I don't think he's wrong. I don't think you're wrong either way.
Well, I'm not saying they would beat Malakoff because I don't think
that's my point.
think Malakoff beats anybody in this region.
I think Malakoff is just like Franklin. They finally broke through the door to win that state championship.
Mike Jones alone.
Yeah, but you see my point. Franklin went from couldn't win the big one, and then I know they lost last year, but then they won back to back. They've been to 4 straight. It feels like Malakoff is right there. They're about to just go on this. I don't want to say Carthage run. I think but close to like a dynamic.
They've been on a Carthage type run.
Just couldn't quite get through. In the
past 7 or 8 years.
Yes. And it's been fun to watch.
Yeah. Well, and it didn't help Malakoff that they were in the wrong part of the state because in the region they go one way and they get a tough team. And then in the region in the semifinals, they got a tough team. I mean, Malakoff is playing in one of the toughest areas you can play when you want to make it to state. right?
Yep. And the crazy thing is Malakoff in the semifinals. You could make the case that Brock lost that game more than, and that's not knocking him out, but you know what I mean. I mean,
Oh, this year, I don't know, man.
No, last year in that semifinal game,
this
Brock
past year
turned the ball over 3 times. They
did, but
outgained
man, there
Malakoff
was
like 3-1.
yeah, but there was something about Malakoff.
Oh no,
even
no,
if
no, no!
those,
I'm just
Malakoff was not going to lose that game. However you presented it to them, they
Yeah.
were going to take it.
But I'm just
If
saying you
Brock
could make the
gave them
case.
some things, that's fine. They're still going to take it. If Brock did not give them those things, and God bless Billy Mathis.
I disagree with you
he's
what
a
you're about to
great
say because I
coach.
think if Brock plays a clean game, they win that game by 10-14.
I see. I don't know,
But
man.
I do agree with you that Malakoff at that point had that special thing that no
They
matter
did.
what,
They
know,
did
if
last
they're down,
year.
if they're down 3 touchdowns, all of a sudden that fourth quarter gets slow. That's what great teams figure out. But I'm just saying, if Brock played a clean game and Malakoff played a clean game last year in that one day, I think Brock wins by 10-14.
See, and we disagree on 2 games. This one, and then roll back all the way to Texas versus Alabama.
In when
Austin.
McCoy,
and you think Texas would have won?
Yes, I do.
And I always think I don't think they would have gone 4 quarters, and this is the only 2 games.
The only 2 games that we
right. But I think Malakoff would have taken anything presented to them. They were that good, and I know
Brock, I don't disagree with you on that. I don't disagree with that. Yeah,
cleanest of games, but that was last year. Doesn't matter.
But that's why you listen and watch us, folks, because we can do stupid arguments like that in a heartbeat. Right? Where are we at? Oh yeah, toughest regions for 2024, and Brock isn't even in the damn conference
So
anymore.
what makes Region 2 great, other than Malakoff and Grandview, is your Pottsboroughs, your Atlantas, who
Winsboro.
Winsboro, one of the fastest teams out there, by the way.
And there used to be an era where when Winsboro lost what they lost, you just wrote them off and said, "Hey, great run, see you in 5 years." But I think Finney is building something there. Yes, that's my point. I think Winsboro and I think Hooks. I think those are 2 of the East Texas teams in 3A. And I know Hooks.
What about Liberty Islo?
We're going to see
down
with
all those.
Yeah,
athletes?
you stopped the show last week when we were in 2A to go back up because we both had forgot about Liberty Islo. I think that they're day one of that. I think very well much, but I'll add them. These are the teams that are starting to figure it out. Not only when they have special classes, but when they just have okay classes.
Right.
Those okay classes are going from 4 wins to 9 wins to 10 wins. That's how you build dynasties. Not with just the state championships, but how far you go the years you don't win state.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just think
that's culture. That's called culture.
And I know people want to say we're very much me society, and we are. And sports, and especially team sports, have taken a hit. I will fully admit that. But the high schools in Texas, the ones that win, they still know it.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes you can't even explain it, but they still know it. But anyway, now what is the toughest region by process of elimination?
Region 3. And it's no brainer because you got Franklin, Columbus, and Hitchcock sitting right up there on the top. And then you got Academy, Little River Academy, who can give headaches to Franklin, Columbus, and Hitchcock any night of the week, right? They have done that before. Teague's going to be a lot better. Dieball's always a hard out. Hallettsville, very physical Hallettsville. Right now, all of a sudden, you've got...
we haven't said
Yoakum. When's the last time you got into a preseason and nobody's like harping on Yoakum, but here they are.
Well, I'll put it to you this way, and not all the teams are in there because Lorena moved and all that. But when you look at District 11 and District 12, a lot of them are the same. And let's remember, that Hitchcock absolutely dominated Columbus when we went down there. I mean, physically,
Columbus, Hitchcock.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah,
Columbus.
You're right. Wait, no.
In the Mosquito game last year, Columbus dominated Hitchcock.
Oh, that's right.
Up front.
The
game was a little bit closer.
No, that's the point I was trying to make. That was the point I was trying to make.
You should lay off on those gator tails.
It's not even that, man. I'm so tired. But anyway, I'll edit that to make it all work. But anyway, so you go into that game, and we felt like whoever came out of that game might be the surprise or not really surprised because Columbus went to the region final, but we felt like, okay, we saw these 2 teams, they struggled, but this is maybe the 2 best in the region. And then Hitchcock gets beat like week 1 or playoff 1 by Little River Academy.
Yeah.
And Mark Fannin kept telling us, I even said it when we did that playoff show. Mark Fannin said, Little River Academy is the team that scares me the most. And that's the team that Franklin had to beat in the region final.
Yeah.
And that's they went past the Columbuses, the Hitchcocks, all them. And then they're back now. And it feels like Little River Academy is kind of in the same spot. Everybody's doubting them, but it wouldn't shock me. And then Franklin, and then what about Yo?
Yeah.
You know, that felt like that. I thought, everybody thought that everything when they rehired, what's his name, they were going to be back. And then they were, but not really. And now they're going back through a new, regime. And Cameron Yo feels like they kind of they need a couple years to figure themselves out outside of the aura that is the Yeoman, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, that's Class 3A Division
Not
1.
to mention that Cameron just sits in a very tough region. I mean,
And sometimes, we'll not browbeat, but, we talk about coaches and programs that struggle. And you're right. You take them out and put them in a different region.
Look at Forney from the 80s and even some of
Will's
the 90s.
Point. Will's Point's always our biggest one.
Yeah.
Folks, in the 2000s, late 90s and 2000s, Will's Point had a really good football program, but they had to play either Forney or Commerce almost every year in the first round of the playoffs.
And you can't, how do you get out of that?
Right? There's nothing you can do about that.
Right.
But anyway, so let's now move to Class 3A Division 2.
All right.
Where do you want to start?
All right. Let's go with the 4th toughest region in Class 3A Division 2, and I think that's Region 1. I think you got your heavy hitter in Wall, another heavy hitter in Canadian, and then another heavy hitter in Wall. And then after that, you got Childress, Crane, Muleshoe, Idalou. I think Idalou is probably maybe one of the best out of that bottom group there. But after that, I think it really comes down to Canadian and Wall.
Yeah, and again, Muleshoe could surprise. Not really surprise. Muleshoe's been taking that. And we talked about. In fact, we had them as a dark horse last year.
Better and better and better over the last 4 years.
We had that as a part of our dark horses last year, last week. But yeah, after Canadian Wall, everybody else would still be kind of oh wow, they got through the region.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But anyway, so that's number 4.
I think Muleshoe's done with that though. I think
Muleshoe
is.
They just need that win, and they play Canadian in the regular season. That might be. We might have to go out there.
Week 1 or 2, maybe even 3. Maybe we should go down and see that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, no, I really would like to. First, we like going to Canadian if it's in Canadian. That means we get to go eat at one of our favorite West Texas places.
Oh, the steakhouse?
Stacked enchiladas. You don't know stacked enchiladas.
I know what stacked enchiladas are.
Where do we like to go eat them when we go out in West Texas?
That was in Borger, you asshat.
They have multiple locations, you asshat.
What?
And
they don't have one in Canadian.
I didn't.
In Childress they do.
I'm talking about when we drive there, not in Canadian.
Well, trying to confuse me. Yes, I know what you're talking about. And that chili relleno is really good.
This is like a sideline to sideline from 2013, and we're in Frisco, dude. Yeah, I was saying to drive there. Well, okay. I'm going to have to actually edit this
really
show.
Really cold beers.
Anyway, yes.
All right. So, So Region 1 is the 4th toughest in 3A Division 2. Region 2, I think, is the 3rd toughest, right? You got Gunner.
And then who else?
Holiday, Jacksboro.
But Holiday, they're still in a scheme
learning
change,
curve, right?
A learning curve. They lost a really good core. Jacksboro lost. Jacksboro returns a lot, but as we always say, they don't return the 3 or 4 that was the glue to everything from their best run.
But they have that quarterback back.
Yeah,
right?
They do have him back. In the best run in Jacksboro history. Wichita Falls City View, the most athletic team in the region. They're always scary because they're one of those teams that they'll get like 3rd in the play or in district or 4th, but then they'll take on the district champ from the other district and take them to the mat in the playoffs and then lose. But then a couple years ago, they made that quarterfinal run. So they're always there, but you don't trust any of those outside. But
then you got
Gunner.
Toller, who was in the 2A Division 1 state championship last year,
but loses their coach,
right.
And Toller, and this is not a knock on Toller, but if until you prove that wasn't a special class, special coach, that you get doubted, and they're doubted right now, and we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. Now, in saying that, in the district they're in, I think they can be really competitive.
Mhm.
Eastland's now confusing. Early's kind of at that. Every time they take one step forward, they take two steps back. Dublin's physical, but doesn't have a lot of speed. That kind of hurts them. And when we say that, which it's funny to call these Region 2 because, man, for 50 years they were Region 1,
Right.
but it's fun. They're the slowest. I would say they're probably the slowest team in the region, but there's just nobody you trust. And if Gunner doesn't go through this unscathed and scary scores, I'll be surprised.
Yeah, they should name their score just about every week for 14 weeks at least, right? Unless they have just a sleeper night.
I heard a coach explain it best this weekend. They're like Mart. You just pencil them in now. You try to doubt it, but then they prove you wrong. When the Ethan Sloan class graduated, that was the greatest class in their history. The next 2 years, they've just ran through like it's nothing.
I know. Yeah.
Gunner's just reached that and they respect it. But anyway, that's the third verse. What is the second best?
I would say Region 4 is our second best in 3A Division 2. You got Poth sitting there as the clear favorite in this region. But then after that, Tidehaven and Lexington. And let me tell you, I am a big believer in Lexington this year, though. I think Lexington can push Poth for the Region 4 championship and take on a Dangerfield or Newton or somebody like that in the semifinals. I think Lexington with that quarterback, they got a really good running back. Defense should be really good. Offensive line is solid. I think Lexington and Poth are the two favorites here in this region, Region 4. And Tidehaven's still out there. They can beat just about anybody. Then you got your Blancos, East Bernard, who should be.
Yeah.
I mean, they came storming back last year, right?
Yes,
Their
they
record
did.
doesn't show it so much, but
way they took the scheme change and ran with it.
Oh,
finally.
yeah,
they embraced it and they used that. They spread it out more, but they still power footballed you. And more importantly, and this is the last regime. I think the message started getting lost, if that makes sense. Now I think the kids are more engaged, and that's all it takes for East Bernard.
East Bernard's another really physical program.
Yes.
I mean, every year they're physical.
And
even
don't forget
when they're
Industrial.
Not winning. Oh, yeah, Vanderbilt
the Cobras,
Industrial.
Yeah, I mean, they've proven that they aren't just a quarterback and a coach. They've won back-to-back 12 games since then. But I'm like you, man.
I'm starting to think we should go. So on the first week of the season, Thursday night, we're going to see Belleville and Salina and Waco. I think maybe we should go see Edna and Vanderbilt Industrial I think it's at Vanderbilt Industrial.
We ain't got nothing else to do during that day but to drive down there. Let's do it. All right, that might be our one. We'll have to make that official here soon. But I like that, and it allows us, because the last few years we've only been able to see them once they got past a certain part of the playoffs. You know, we try to go where the games take us, and we're one of the things I meant to say earlier. With like 4A Division 1 being more wide open, I think 3A Division 1 and 3A Division 2, as far as who gets to play in the state championships, are pretty wide open. That means we might get one of those years where we get to bounce around more of the regions. And we love going to Houston 6 times a year, but we'd also like to go more west and more southwest. And I think that'd be a great game. But anyway, what is the toughest region?
Toughest region is going to be Region 3, and that's because you got Dangerfield and Newton on top, and then you got some really good teams like New Diana. Man,
I think they're
your favorite, Wascom.
Oh, you're
Woodville,
let that go. Well, you're gonna be so surprised when Wascom wins 13.
Hooks, DeKalb. I mean,
and I talked about Hooks earlier. I think they're finally figuring out how not to be a 6-4 team with a lot of talent, but to be a 9-3 team. And I think
Hooks defensively is going to be really good this year.
People forget how physical that defense was. We get lost in the running back and then all that, but that defense was very physical
up until Dangerfield.
Well, that's Dangerfield's the epitome of
it's a new season.
But Dangerfield's the epitome of it. If they wanna, they can. If they don't wanna, they won't. But and they wanted to. And I am very high on Dangerfield this year, by the way.
Yep.
All right.
So, that's the toughest region, Region 3. So, we have Region 3 as the toughest region. Region 4 is the second toughest region. Region 2 is the third. And then running out the fourth is Region 1.
All right. So, let's finish this up by going to Class 2A Division 1. And we're going to start off with the fourth toughest region is Region 2. Why is that?
Really, Region 2 doesn't have any that really stick out at you, right? Coleman, Axtell, Tioga,
Yeah.
Italy, Frankston, maybe, right? But anything after that, I don't see anybody that's going to challenge anybody in Region 3, 1, or 1, 3, and 4, right?
No, I don't disagree.
Yeah.
And again, it goes back to also it's the depth, and that always people you get enamored by the top part of the districts, but it's always going to be the depth. It's the teams that go 3 rounds more than you think they should, but it's also because they're a really
Tioga
good team.
could be that team,
And
maybe
Tioga's
in Region
always
2.
and they've gotten more physical over the years, but you got to figure that consistency. Anyway, that is the third or fourth toughest. The third toughest is Region 1.
Yes.
And that's kind of the same. And by the way, you could have split the hairs on these 2 regions and flipped them, and there wouldn't be that much. I do think, though,
I think
Abernathy,
Region 1 is, I think it's not splitting hairs. I think Region 1's a lot tougher than Region 2 because you got Sunray, Hawley, and Stanford.
I think Abernathy. I think them dropping down like Sweetwater, and we say this every realignment, and we'll hit on some, and then I'll remember Jacksonville. I so thought when Jacksonville dropped to 4A, they were going to figure it out, and they actually got worse, and that happens. But I legitimately feel like Abernathy, a team that's had a lot of success in 3A Division 2, had an epic run with them in Roosevelt 3 years ago where they played 2 games and they were epic, and I feel them dropping down where they have more depth now, and
then Panhandle,
with
one of the best quarterbacks in the whole Panhandle.
Spearman,
right?
Everybody forgets about Spearman, who has battled in one of the more underrated 3A Division 2 districts in the last 6 years.
Yeah,
and they've not always been great, but they've battled well. They're dropping down, and all of a sudden they're going to look around and say, hey, we're more athletic than any of these teams.
Yeah, that's true.
There's a lot of unknown, but good unknown in Region 1.
Right.
All right.
The second toughest district in 2A Division 1, I think, is Region 4. And that's because you got Refugio and Ganado at the top. Man, those two, tough outs, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then you got your Masons. You got Crawford, Marlin, Holland. That makes for a pretty tough region right there. Even if you took out Mason, Holland, Marlin, and Crawford, Refugio and Ganado, right? But I feel like there's a Mason or one of those other teams that can push both of those and not make it so clear cut for those 2.
Well, and I think the thing that for me keeps them where they're at is all those teams, every one of them all have a glaring question or 2 for each one of them for different reasons. Ganado, is this real? Like, was last year just a fluke run? Can you do it? And not that Ganado had been good, but they hadn't been able to get past Refugio. For Refugio.
Boy, I tell you what, it wasn't a fluke run.
Oh, no. I'm saying that's what we're saying.
Know, right.
We're going to find out.
Right.
But like Refugio, I think this is the most questions we've had for a Refugio team in probably 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah, but they'll still be there.
They'll answer them, but I'm just saying.
Right. No, absolutely.
We always talk about it. The dynasties fall when you least expect them because you just start to trust and assume, and even, oh, that's okay, they were down, but then it's over. And I'm not saying it's going to be, but that's why they're where they're at. So anyway.
All right. So the toughest region in 2A Division 1 we've got as Region 3, and that's because you got Honeygrove, Garrison, Timpson, Cooper,
Beckville,
Wascom, and Centerville.
Hey, Elysianville drops down now. It makes it easier for them. Timpson, you and I even said, I remember you and I watching the first game when JJ Garner had to step in at quarterback, and
and man, that dude can go too.
And we literally looked at each other. We were like, no matter what happens this season, Timpson's going to be fine. Right. This is not a Terry Bussey. He's gone. They now fade back into the night. Timpson could very easily run this table, but if they do,
my question with this region is: can Honeygrove beat Timpson and Garrison, Timpson or Garrison when it matters in the playoffs?
And that's the thing you and I talked about last week.
And they might be able to. We don't know yet.
Region wise, this is the weirdest region because you've got
North Texas and Southeast
very
Texas.
true North Texas,
right?
And I know A&M Commerce, but let's be honest, that's not Commerce is in East Texas. It's north, and then you have the almost southest of the east before you hit the Golden Triangle.
Right.
And so
right,
there's
right.
style play. There's the athleticism. And I even asked you last week when we were talking it. Right now, who would we think would win between a Honeygrove and a Timpson, or a Honeygrove and a Beckville? And we were like,
Or Garrison.
or a Garrison. We just first now mentioned them. Who do we think would win? And we both like, the other team, Honeygrove, might get beat by 14. And Honeygrove is really, really good this year.
Yeah, I still not counting out Honeygrove.
And
I think
they have to
win
get
this
over
region.
the Cooper hump too. Cooper's got the best of them in the last few years.
Cooper
That's a
might be
big
the
rivalry.
toughest team that they see until the playoffs.
And it will be.
But I think Honeygrove has the ability this year. I think they got enough returning, especially on defense, from a special defense, to win this region against Timpson and Garrison. But also Timpson and Garrison could also win this region. But I think Honeygrove deserves to have their name in there as a region favorite. I really do. But that's what makes this region so tough, is so many questions up top.
Exactly. And again, as I call it, it's the good questions. You know, they're going to answer them, and we're just going to see how they answer them. That's where it's all fun. All right, let's move out and finish the show with 2A Division 2, the worst region to begin things.
Worst.
I was just about to say, or the least best. I still think
it's
that
a
almost
really
sounds
tough region, but since there's only 4 regions, you got to
put somebody at the bottom.
You got to be a little diplomatic here, asshat.
All right, it's Region 1.
Okay.
And it's not a great region, to be
Well,
honest.
no, I mean, you got Stratford.
Yeah.
They're really darn good.
Yeah.
And then after that, Wink. I think Wink is going to be...
I know, again, Wink's one of those teams that loses a lot, but they return a lot of the key guys.
I think Wink could push Stratford for this region. I really do.
I don't know if maybe we say, can Stratford push Wink for this region?
Yeah, maybe not.
I mean,
it comes down to those two, and then Farwell and Groover.
But
right?
I was about to say, the problem is after that Wink discussion in Stratford, if anybody else makes that region final, we will be shocked.
Right. Yes.
I mean, and that's why they're at the fourth toughest region.
Because Stratford's sitting there in District 1.
Yeah, they're perfectly placed where they meet.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You love it. It's like
1,
Gunner
2.
Canadian. Yes.
Right.
Make sure y'all win y'all's district so we can get you in the region final.
But if that's a region final, I'd love to make that one.
Yeah. We've made it.
We might have to go to that game.
You know, it's funny because we started last year. Our very first game was Timpson and Beckville, but we made a point this year talking in the offseason that we need to make more 2A games through the season. Sure. We saw that one, and I think we saw one other, and then it's just it's hard when you get other. I mean, we're trying to pick 1, maybe 2 games if we get lucky on a Thursday night or a Saturday game. We've got 3 classes, 9 divisions, whatever.
Thin, yeah,
it's tough. Anyway, so that is the second or fourth best.
Oh, man, you're skipping a lot.
I'm so tired, dude. Let's go to the third best region, and that's I just heard you.
Your Gazendas.
Region 4.
Yes.
Why Region 4?
You're doing really well. I'm proud of you.
I appreciate it.
You went from 4 to 3 pretty seamlessly, so I like that. You're almost getting Coach X level. Almost.
Can we call him Coach X anymore? Like right now, I think he's Cart Pusher X. If you don't know Coach X, he got asked.
Did he get fired?
He didn't. Well, so I don't know. I'll put it this way.
Mutual department.
So I put it to you this way. I emailed him or texted him about 3 or 4 weeks ago. Hey, dude, where are you at? We can't wait to do the show and all. And he was like, I'm sorry, please text this number. I'm like, oh, I got a new number. So I texted that number, and it was, hey, man, this is the Hammerman. I'm a lawyer, and Coach X can't talk to you right now. We'll let you know. Yeah, the Hammerman. Anyway.
It's not the Hammerman. And who you're talking about is a injury lawyer, dude.
You ruined it for me.
I didn't ruin it.
My whole point was Coach X is so bad, he had to hire a injury lawyer to do his case of whatever it was.
So now he's like looking for odd jobs. He's out of the profession for a year. He's coming back
supposedly.
Year. Next year, yeah, he will.
Watch him. I bet he does the private school route like all the other coaches.
He's like looking for all these
secretaries and stuff.
Well, he's looking for all these get rich quick schemes. He called me and actually texted me the other day about that prescription windshield thing I had,
Oh my God, he's trying to make that work.
He's trying to cash in on that. And I was like, well, I've been told, we have some hangups on that. Like, if somebody else is driving your car and they have a different eyeglass prescription. They can't see out your windshield. So, but he thinks we can move forward with it. I don't know.
All right.
But then he's got some other, he said he has some other schemes in work. So we'll see.
Anyway,
But we'll hear from him when? Next week?
We hope to
Or
hear
week 2, I guess.
Right, well, I told him, we're recording our Big R's preview show soon. I told him if he wanted to, write in for that, we'd love to hear where he's at.
Week 2.
At
when
least
we start
week 2 of
the
the
actual
season.
regular season.
When we start the actual, again, if you don't remember,
it'll be weekly.
Yeah, if you don't remember, we don't do a week 1 show in studio because we let our preview shows carry over, and then we start in week 2.
I was going to pitch him another idea.
What's that?
So we do a lawn care company / at the same time document shredding. So we're mowing your yard. If you have shit you want or stuff that you want shredded, throw it in the yard. We'll do it at the same time. We'll bag it. We'll take it back, and we may or may not burn it, depending on how rich you are. And then I'll have Coach X taping it all together in our warehouse. I got an account number.
Well, he's like Rain Man. Just throw it together like a puzzle, and he'll figure it out in 5 minutes. Anyway, hey, what is the third toughest region in 2A Division 2?
I think that's Region 4 because you have Shiner, right, and Falls City. Those are the 2 favorites. And then you got Granger, Burton, and Junction. Yeah. I don't know so much about Junction just yet.
And again, Shiner's, they're year 2 now after their epic run with the Brooks brothers, and last year they were good, not great. And I could see them getting better, but I could also see them still just being good, not great. And after them, and I do think Falls City might be the class of this region. But after that, there's just not a lot of.
You think Falls City is the class of the region with Shiner or
over Shiner?
Over Shiner,
yeah,
really?
That's what I'm saying. I think Shiner's in a.
Because you like Beavers, right?
Yeah.
Okay. No, that's cool. I understand it.
Anyway, I think Shiner's in a back to being a good, not top of the region.
Well,
if things break right and in certain positions mature faster, then yes. But I'm just saying.
I think you're thinking that maybe they are living off reputation right now, right? Maybe why Dave Campbell's is giving them a lot of love.
I don't want to say it that way because
Dave Campbell's gives them a top 5 ranking. Do you think that's off a reputation or what they did last year?
Well,
because they are a very physical team every year. Are they not?
And again,
that's a very physical area of the state.
Yes.
Shiner, Goliad,
yes,
Cuero, all of those guys are just very, very physical, even when they're not good.
Oh no, and that's a really good point.
Again, that's the bohemian in them. It really is.
But no, we always talk about the great programs. Not only win state, but when they don't win state, they win 4 games or into the playoffs. They're a 13-win team, and they might prove that. I just feel like I know they're young. I know they got the Poyer kid coming back, and last year they were really solid. Later on in the season, they struggled early. I think East Bernard blew the doors off of them, and that's when we were like, "Holy crap, East Bernard's better," and they were. But then they kept losing like that.
Sure, yeah.
And I just think they have to reprove themselves. That's all.
Okay, no, I got you. All right. So our second toughest region in Class 2A Division 2 is Region 3, and we think the top tier echelon here is Mart. But then you got Bremond and Lovelady, right?
Yeah.
And I think those guys are going to be pretty tough.
I think they're going to be pretty tough. And then you got Celeste that's back over in the true northeast Texas.
Right.
They got for the last 2 years swung over into Munster and that group. And they competed well. They made the playoffs. But even, I do a Munster football show, and even they were all like, this is just weird. Like, they're over here playing.
But I don't even think Celeste has a say in this.
Oh, no. I'm just saying. No,
okay.
They're back in a region where I think they're going to feel more comfortable. And I think they're in a district.
But then they got Overton. And we know how good Overton's going to be this year.
I love the fact that you're as high on Overton, because I was worried you wouldn't be, because Overton fits the typical every 10 years they have a great program or one season and then they fall back.
But the dudes they have around them, see, that's the thing. You can have in these lower classes a really good season or 2 with 2 dudes, right? And then when those 2 dudes are gone, and those 2 dudes can't take you to a region final. And when those 2 dudes are gone, then you're back to 1-9, 2-8, all that. Overton's got about 5 dudes, right? And that's the right amount of dudes in 2A to make a run.
And they've got their coach back too. I don't think people understand. Usually in 2As, if you have a breakout season, usually you're gone the next year as a coach.
Yeah. Somebody's calling.
Somebody's calling you and
shows up on your doorstep with roses.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And all coaches always take those things. I don't
Why
want people to
wouldn't
think
you?
we're
Why wouldn't
knocking that. Yeah. I don't think we're saying that's
absolutely,
that's what happens.
You're in any profession. I mean, you want to help the kids and all that, but at the end of the day, you're there to promote yourself. I mean, you have to, right? And then you have Tenaha, Mount Enterprise, and Chilton. Those are not easy.
Talking to Chilton coaches, they came by the booth and were interested about our show. Yeah. And, Benny Hewitt, the head coach there, a lot of people are saying they've started figuring out that I think they were 12-1 last year. I can't remember but that they've started figuring out how to stay consistent. And they have one of the coolest helmets. It's purple and it just simply says Chilton.
And isn't it Chilton that has one of the best World War II memorials downtown in their park?
We drove past at that time.
We visited, I think.
When we were going to
I don't know. Who knows where we're going?
We ended up at Mahia eating chicken. I remember that.
Mahia eating chicken.
Mm-hmm.
Were we sober?
Probably not. Are we now?
Was it? I am. I didn't. Yeah.
Anyway.
All right. So our toughest region then, our second toughest region was Region 3. If you're not good at math like Terry, you can't.
Region 77
is our toughest region in Class 2A Division 2 is Region 2. And you got the top hitters up top, Munster and Albany.
You got Albany. You've got I still
Wellington
think
and Windthorst underneath that.
I still think Munster. Last year they took Albany to the mat.
Right.
You could even make the case that Munster's
and
mistakes,
Munster did that with a bunch of sophomores and juniors.
Right. And you can make the case that Munster gave the game away. And again, nothing against Albany. You got Collinsville, who I know loses one of the most dynamic Class 2A quarterbacks in history, but understand a lot of that is also that system. And so you're going to lose a great quarterback, and the next guy might not be as good, but he's going to be really, really good compared to everybody else.
Yep. And then you got Roscoe, Lindsay, Miles, Clarendon.
Yes. I mean, this is a region that you truly feel whoever comes out of it, unless it's just a real shock, but whoever comes out of it, we're going to go, yeah, that seems legit. Sure. That seems right. Yeah. And that's what makes a tough region. It's when you've got 6 teams that if they win that region, you go, yeah, we could see that.
Yeah, exactly. It's a bloodbath every week in the playoffs.
Yep.
Is what it is.
All right. Are we done?
I think we are.
Man, this went way longer. I can't wait to see what the edit time is when I cut it because we're sitting at an hour and 23 right now. We've got one other show to record, but that doesn't matter to you right now. We do appreciate everybody joining us. Want to remind you to go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@L4 Company. You can also go to the audio only, and I will put the audio only of the Dark Horse up as well. I just forgot to do that last week, getting ready for coaches school, but you can find that at s2sgrantandterry.com. Our our coaches shows will be over at our other site, s2ssport.com. But I think that's it, buddy.
Yeah.
Until next time, he's Grant and I'm Terry, and this has been Sideline to Sideline, brought to you by Neuro Plus Mouth Guards right here on L4 Media.